bill, and that's fine. We are 38 trillion as a country in debt. So it's easy to understand why we believe ultimately marginal tax rates are headed higher. And retirees understand how it is very easy for their incomes to surpass the lower tax brackets with the taxation of Social Security benefits included. So when I first started in this business, the one thing we were told is that when you retire, you are going to fall into the lowest tax bracket. And for a period of time, that was true. And on the surface, for some of you, it still might look true until you consider your holistic tax picture, which doesn't just include federal income tax. It also includes taxation on Social Security and these pesky charges called IRMA. How come they don't name kids IRMA anymore? So the one thing we keep in mind is that, especially when we work with younger people, Roth is a part of your overall arsenal for savings. And for those people that are in or close to retirement, Roth can still work. We're going to talk a little about a study that modeled hundreds of thousands of retirement scenarios to determine which Roth conversion strategy performs best over a 10-year period. And there have been studies out there for Roth that show even if you're going to be in the 15% bracket, that Roth can still work. So ultimately, you got to remember mainstream finance and what they look for, right? They want people to maximize contributions to pre-tax accounts. It's all about savings taxes today. And that could be an effective strategy for accumulators. You know, as careers advance, incomes grow, people get closer to retirement, they should have a plan to diversify their accounts. So there's this retirement income smile. I think there's also a Roth account smile or a retirement account smile. And tell your kids and grandkids this if they're starting their first jobs out of college. And heck, even if they've got jobs working at the local supermarket, delivering newspapers, or whatever the heck they do, you can still do custodial Roths if they are below the age of majority, which is what I did for my daughter. And then it became her Roth, and she contributes to that on an annual basis. So when you're first starting out, so let's take it in 3 stages, and then we'll talk about the study last. But let's talk about the stages of life for everybody, where Roth fits into everybody's scenario. I'm 23 years old. I'm just starting my new job. I go to my benefits administrator, and they say, oh, yeah. And I talk to people around me, got to do pre-tax, got to save taxes now. Oh, okay. I'm just starting out, right? I'm in pretty much my tax bracket's pretty okay, but it's not where it's going to be, right? I'm not in my peak earning years. So savings taxes now is not such a big deal. So why don't I start the one side of the smile in Roth? I am going to do Roth out of the gate. 23 years old, I'm going to do Roth 401k. And we are going through, by the way, the Rothification of America, which, by the way, we've been talking about for a very long time, that eventually Roth was going to be the king because the government is J.G. Wentworth. They need the money. They need the cash now. And so one thing to keep in mind is if the government needs cash now, they like Roth too. Well, listen, it's like focusing on an ant versus the fatted calf of your pre-tax accounts. You see, that fatted calf of pre-tax money you've been accumulating, the government goes, they're drooling over that. They're finding ways to leak that money to get it. So I wouldn't worry about Roth now, not in your lifetime. Probably not even in your kids' or grandkids' lifetime. There's not enough in there to worry about. Pre-tax is still the king. So I'm starting out, I do Roth. Now, as my career progresses, I start to go, I'm moving up in marginal rates, really starting to hit. But I've already got this part of the smile in Roth. Guess what I'm going to do in my high tax years? I'm not going to totally poo-poo. You got to keep this in mind. When now in my higher earning years, I now can shut my Roth off. Say I'm 35 and I've done Roth for 12 years. Okay. I've got this bucket started. Looks great. Now I want to save taxes now. I'm making more money. Now I'm going to start filling my pre-tax bucket. So, right, I'm diversifying my accounts. And I'm going to do that for a good period of time. Maybe 5 years before retirement. And at that 5-year benchmark, closer to retirement, I could see it coming. We call it the right lane. We're exiting. We're headed off the road. We're going to retirement. I'm going to switch my current plan contributions from traditional to Roth options. And frankly, we're going to talk about one of the changes because, frankly, if you are 50 plus, you make $145,000 more a year, and you do catch-up contributions, those are going to be in Roth. The government demands it. There's a J.G. Wentworth mandate that you're going to have to follow. So think about this. Now I'm going to go back to Roth. So I'm going to start with Roth at 23. And again, I'm making these ages up. It all depends on, maybe you're some wonderkind and you're starting to make big money in your 20s, and that's fine. Maybe I switch then, but you get the point. I want to fund both accounts. I want to balance those accounts. Once then I have making more money and I'm maxing out my pre-tax, I might decide that I'm going to do a brokerage account, a plain old vanilla brokerage account. And I'm going to really have this by the time I retire on the upper end of the smile. I'm going to have a nice mix of pre-tax, after-tax, and, more taxed favorably accounts. So think about when you have distributions tax. So I work with somebody who wants to buy a home, sold their old home, but the money is sitting in cash, waiting for markets. They're in a new market, so they're waiting. In our retirement planning software, so we're going to move away from the younger people. So talk to your kids and grandkids about the retirement savings smile and starting with Roth. Okay, because that's what we suggest people do. Start off, as their friends are looking at them like they're freaks, pre-tax, and then to Roth again as they get closer to retirement. But the thing you want to keep in mind is working with someone. When we do our retirement income hierarchy, if you will work with programs, you work with technology every day. It's just a part of our lives. It's like we live and breathe. You have global settings. You have settings on your software. Your company sets them. We have settings on our retirement income software where we draw down tax-deferred accounts first, taxable, then tax-free. And sometimes there's a period where that doesn't work. For each client is looked at differently, and sometimes the client's withdrawal hierarchy is going to be different. So if a client wants to make a big purchase, say, listen, I want to spend $800,000 on a house and I don't want a mortgage. Okay. All right. I have some money from the sale of my old house. Great. So ultimately, I'm going to have to withdraw probably maybe $400,000 or $500,000 out of my accounts to get the house that I want, my dream house in retirement. Want room for my grandkids, right? I want the amenities. I want the pool. We stay at home a lot. That's fine. Listen, if you have the money to do whatever you want, we're here to help you hit the goal, right? Just like, oh my God, why would you want to own a house? Well, if that's what you want, that's what you want. If you can afford it in your goals, more power to you. So if I use my hierarchy of tax deferred first and I'm pulling $500,000 out of my IRA, what do you think it's doing to my tax situation for that year? And what do you think it's doing to my plan? It's effectively deteriorating it. It's eroding it a bit. Because not only am I taking out $500,000, I've got the taxes on $500,000, and then I got a tax waive of IRMA and Social Security taxation. So you can see where overall diversification of accounts. So when I had to reshuffle the withdrawal strategy, where he would be taking taxable first because of that big goal, and the plan kicked right up into place. The beauty of flexibility or diversification of accounts cannot be understated. If you put all your money in pre-tax, everything you want to do, everything you touch is taxed as ordinary income. What about if I wanted to? I once had a craft somewhere where someone wanted money to buy a car. And thankfully, we were able to pull some money out of tax deferred, brokerage, and a little bit of Roth to maintain within the tax bracket that they needed to stay. Or we were just at that verge of where IRMA was going to kick in. The crafting of retirement income can't be understated when it comes to Roth. So just keep that in your little mind.
Real Investment Show podcasts are now available on iTunes. Listen anyplace, anytime at iTunes.com.
What's the future of investing in 2026? Gain insights on how AI, technology, and the economy will shape your money in the year ahead at the RIA Economics Summit, January 17th at the Royal Sonesta Houston Galleria. Join Lance Roberts, Michael Leibowitz, and Thoughtful Money's Adam Taggart, plus top minds in AI, crypto, and retirement strategy for a powerful look at the markets of tomorrow. Seats are limited. Register now at realinvestmentadvice.com. realinvestmentadvice.com.
You're listening to The Real Investment Show.
You know, in this crazy world that we live in, which nothing surprises me anymore, sometimes you got to go back, look inside yourself, and realize there are certain rules and tenets you live by. And those rules can save you many times. And I'm not talking about money, just the way your philosophy of life and rules that you follow, rules of the road that you know work for you to keep you sane, keep you happy, keep you even-keeled in a world that's very turbulent. And sometimes you can take that world and put it into markets and money. You can move that over. And everything we do at RIA is rules-based. So, yeah, we can get distressed emotionally when we see markets more turbulent. I never trust markets, and you shouldn't. They can change on you very quickly. Never be overconfident, right? There's a rule that I always follow, that I've always followed, even though I study this stuff, and I always know that I can learn more. And I always know the market can turn around and cut me at the knees at any time. That keeps you aware. That allows you to shift gears and make moves that are better and not emotionally based. So everything we do. So I created these financial guardrails. And financial guardrails are these timeless principles for building wealth and keeping it. And some of them you're not going to agree with. And I don't care, frankly. Because you're going to have your own. And some you're going to agree with and some you will. And that's the beauty of disagreement and discussion, right? But these are rules I also have learned from the wealthiest of people who started with nothing and had a perspective and worked with it. And I took it and put it all together. So the first guardrail is annuities have to be planned, not sold. So if someone is trying to sell you an annuity, my rule is you walk away, because how the heck do you know my whole situation? Yeah, you know my tax bracket, kind of risk I'm looking to take. You know certain things to cover your butt. But you have no idea what assets I have, what income generation assets I have. So keep in mind, guardrail 1, annuities should be planned, not sold. And annuities are not bad things as much as Ken Fisher rails against them. Not many people have the bajillions of dollars that Ken Fisher. I am pretty sure Elon Musk doesn't need an annuity for income. I'm sure there are trusts and other things that are going to protect him from creditors and when he says crazy stuff. But what I'm saying, the last thing he needs is some form of guaranteed income structure. Right? So keep that in mind. Guardrail 2. Everybody wants a house. Everybody thinks that's the American dream. And Lance will tell you, it's not. The American dream is to build something or grow something, generate wealth that you can buy a home and secure a home. But a home is nothing but an expense. Guardrail 2, consider a primary residence as a place to reside, not an investment. In reality, depending on the mortgage outstanding, it's more a liability than an asset. Heck, we don't even own your house when you pay it off here after property taxes, right, Brett? You would think that, oh, yeah, I own my home. Yeah, do you? You want to calculate your return from a primary residence. I had an aunt that I work with. She lived in Deer Park, New York, and she goes, I'm the one to sell my house and put it in, And I helped her years ago with this, and she bought this house in Deer Park for like $20,000. And that was a lot of money. And she has some property there in New York. And she sold it for like $150,000 after like 35 years or something like that. And I did the return calculation for her. Because you have to look at, I have to track improvements, add back the purchase. I look at my cost basis. What did I buy? Taxes, maintenance, everything that goes into that home has to go into the return figure. All she knows is she paid $20,000 and she got back $125,000. But when I told her her return was about 2.7%, well, she didn't like that. Now, there are exceptions, right? Depending on the location, overall supply and demand, uniqueness of your property, right? But these are not typical homeowners' experience. Most people live in homes that look just like the home next to them. They live in these cookie cutter developments. Listen, it's not like taking your money and throwing it away. You did buy an asset. But just because you paid so much for it doesn't make it an investment. It's not generating anything for you. Now, if I'm looking at residences to rent, to create an income stream, totally different. But your primary investment overall in your home is not an investment. So if you think of your house as a place to reside and not an investment, it'll help you just keep your perspective and not become house poor, right? Another one, and we have seen this, and I love this one. We have seen more adult parents taking care of their children, adult children, and sacrificing their own goals. Retirement, whatever they had, they are supporting their adult children at levels we have never really seen. We have more multi-families living together than we have seen since World War II. So even today, we have clients that'll come to us, clients that'll come to me and say, oh yeah, my son's asking for money again. My daughter's asking for money again. And we allow a certain amount of that in a plan. But 3 is never allow others to cross your personal financial boundaries. And this is a tough lesson. There's nothing inappropriate about maintaining boundaries and saying no to obligations that may place your personal financial security in jeopardy. So we witness parents who extend themselves to co-sign for children. We know those who lend to family members only to be disappointed. Loan obligations are not met. My own personal rule is if I'm going to give you or I'm going to loan you money, I'm not loaning you money. I'm gifting you money. If you decide to pay me back, that's all well and good, but I don't want to ruin a relationship with somebody that I like or I care about because they decided that they're not going to pay me back. Money destroys a lot of great relationships. So it's best to understand up front the financial impact of your personal situation. Know your boundaries and stick to them. Number 4, Create your own financial rules around debt control and savings, then stick to them no matter what, right? But if you look at excessive debt and limited ability to buffer against financial emergencies, well, then you are never going to be able to take on riskier ventures that are actually going to grow your wealth. One of the best rules, and we say this all the time, and financial services never update their rules, and most of them stink. But paying yourself first is one of the best ones out there. If that's the only one you take away, you've won the game. Money into savings before anything else. So here are our guardrails. Let me know what you think about debt guardrails. Mortgage debt. Your primary residence mortgage, 2 times your gross salary. That means if you make $100,000, you should not have more than $200,000 worth of mortgage debt. If you make $500,000, it's no more than $1 million. That doesn't mean you should take on the $1 million. And your realtor will tell you, you can take on $4 million. Never tell your realtor exactly what you make, because then that realtor is going to try to fit that money or that earning power into a bigger home. And we know what comes with a bigger home. Bigger nuisances. Student loan debt. I took on student loan debt. I limited, this is a rule I created. I limited it to 1 year's worth of total expenses, tuition, room and board. I could allocate it how I wish. So when I was in college, and it was much easier to get a loan and interest rates were lower because you didn't have the government interfering with all of it, as they do today, I took out, I want to say $20,000 to $22,000 and used it over a 4-year period. I put some of it away, and then I stationed it out. So if I'm taking on more than 1 year's worth of student loan debt, I have to look at the ROI on that college degree. My gender studies degree won't mean crap. My sociology degree, not going to mean much, especially today. Look at what's going on with AI. Look at corporate job freeze. Look at how many companies are letting white-collar workers go because you don't need them. Entry-level jobs are one of the most challenging areas for young college students to get into today. Look at your degree as an ROI. What kind of return on investment am I going to get depending on how much I'm putting in? I was going for a finance degree with a minor in marketing, and I figured $20,000 over 4 years, maybe 5 with a graduate degree, was probably fair. I would have been able to recoup that. And college was more affordable. Personal unsecured debt, credit card, auto debt, no more than 25% of your gross monthly household income. And you want to be below that number. Unlike a bank that'll tell you, these metrics, the kinds of metrics they use is to get you into a debt. The metrics I'm providing you is to keep you out of it or minimize it. It's totally different. The job is to free up money so you invest that money to create wealth and have opportunities to do so. Or when an emergency comes along, you don't have to load up credit cards and not pay them back or pay them off in full. Guardrail 5, absolutely crucial today. Invest in yourself. Human capital is a measure of the economic value of an individual's skill set. A passion to learn is going to increase your ability to earn. I've always believed that. I've always believed that for as long as I can remember. Lifetime earnings are your financial fuel that drives wealth and savings. So you want to boost or learn new skills that increase your value in the workplace, right? Facilitate sort of an entrepreneurial kind of venture. You have to maximize the return on you. So let's put it in perspective. 30 years earnings, current median household salary is roughly $59,000. An individual or family would earn $1,780,000 over a lifetime. Yeah, the goal could be to double that median income every decade. But that comes from focus, determination, and a little bit of luck. Never stop reinventing or learning because it will affect your pockets. I like financial media. I'm sort of addicted to it. CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg. I like it. It's like my pablum. Like it's got to be on at all times. And it drives a lot of people crazy. I'm sure it drives the dogs crazy. But, I'll have Fox Business on in the bedroom, CNBC on in the living room. It's a thing. Because I want to hear what they're talking about. Not because I want to follow the advice. I want to know what kind of questions I'm going to get from everybody. How many times are they talking about NVIDIA? How many times are they talking about this? AI, whatever. Gold is the next big thing. Who's pushing their books? Why are they pushing them? I want to know that. But I'm not going to take action on any of it. And listen, AI has lots of benefits. It's going to add to the bottom line. I read transcripts from various companies. I listen to what CFOs and CEOs say. I know it's impacting jobs, and I know what they're looking to do. But my thought is, after you let so many people go, the more AI you use, the more people you're going to hire. And I know that sounds strange. But the more sophisticated the AI gets, the deeper I want to go with it, the more expertise. So talk about increasing your human capital. What an opportunity you have as a young person to embrace this and capitalize on it. Because my thought is, you'll lean and mean for a while, but then sooner or later, the more AI you're on, it's like your house. You have one AC system, maybe two. What if I had 50? What if I had 100? I can't have just one HVAC person. AI requires maintenance. AI requires teaching for maximization of productivity. These people are being overconfident, and they're going to have to restaff with people who have these skills to handle the AI wild horse in the corral. And you could be that person. So remember that everything changes. Whatever's happened over the last 5 days does not dictate the next 10. You have to avoid these biases. Your advisor can help you. The tools they use can help you very much. Create a household financial wellness evolution. So when you look at financial wellness, it's consistent monetary success and pathos, which leads to security and generates inner peace. And wellness ebbs and flows depending upon what goes on in your household. So let me ask you a question. You need to come up with $5,000. And a lot of households can't come up with $500. But you need to come up with $5,000 because you need to replace an engine in your car. And you can't really afford a new one. But now you're stressing out. My financial wellness, my overall feeling of wellness has gone to zero. It's sitting in a ball in my gut. If I had an emergency reserve of $10,000, yeah, I hate the fact that I got to spend $5,000 on an engine, but I've got it. Then I breathe a sigh of relief. Oh my gosh. I hate to pay it, but I've got the money. Thank you. There's a wellness factor in there. You just probably added a year to your life. So you want to look at what wellness is. Listen, it's not pretty, but there's beauty in the consistency that you follow to bolster your certain financial situation overall. And these financial decisions you make over a lifetime not only forge your path, but also the road you take into the future. And it could flow through to multiple generations long after you're gone. So it's worth understanding that money, your actions, how you treat it, is much bigger than one individual. Think about that example I gave you. $5,000 out of my account. I never forgot that I had that $5,000 to put that engine in my car. Now it's 15 years later, and I have children, and I'm talking to them, I cannot tell you the importance of having a cash emergency reserve. Let me tell you a story. Never get that feeling that, oh my gosh, I don't have the money for this. An emergency that comes up. And you teach that child paying yourself first and creating an emergency reserve. If that's the only thing you teach that child, and that goes from one generation to the next, you've accomplished a lot. So these guardrails are things that I've learned, I have conducted myself throughout history of my life. And I am sure if you sit down this weekend, and again, you can download the ebook about financial guardrails at realinvestmentadvice.com, right? Look up to resources, type in financial survival guides. We will be renaming them ebooks, but tape them, and we have a whole bunch of them on a whole lot of topics that Lance and I wrote about. And this is one of them. And I would share this, especially around holiday time. Look at this guide that my advisors wrote. Follow these guardrails as best you can. It could be the best gift you give them, and it won't cost you a thing to download it off the site. Well, not enough to make me angry, just enough to keep me calm and sanguine. But I'm glad you're here. I hope you get at least, if you take one of these guardrails and put them to work, let me know, because I want to talk about it in future podcasts. Hope you have a great rest of your week, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Financial Fitness Podcast. RealInvestmentAdvice.com. Get Lance's newsletter. We write every day. Read it. Share it. Love it. Well, at least like it. We like you. Thank you.